Hello everyone, Mason here. I'm back with another book review, and today it's time to talk about a murder mystery. It's called Close Your Eyes by Rachel Abbott. I'm going to start off spoiler free and move on to spoilers later. Close Your Eyes is the 10th book in the DCI Tom Douglas series, and I've got sorry to cut in here, but how exactly are you planning on talking about this without spoilers? Even the book description is super vague because they know that this is really hard to talk about without spoilers. What are you thinking? Yeah, thanks, Doubtful Mason. That was a super helpful interruption. The truth is, I don't know. This is going to be hard to talk about without spoilers, but I am going to try, so here we go. As I was saying, Close Your Eyes is the 10th book in the DCI Tom Douglas series, although I did spot it on the trending section on Audible, downloaded it, started reading it, got about halfway through it, and then realised that it was part of a series, so I think it's safe to say that the other books in the series aren't required reading to understand what's going on here. In Close Your Eyes, we follow 3 points of view. The first perspective that we follow is that of DCI Tom Douglas and his team of detectives as they try to solve the murder of a woman. The second perspective is that of a possible suspect in the murder as she desperately tries to avoid things in her past that might come back to haunt her if she's implicated in the murder. The third perspective is that of a family, along with a mysterious man that comes into their life, turning it upside down, and the events that unfold afterwards. One of the things that I really enjoyed about Close Your Eyes was the structure. Each chapter is fairly short and tends to have a good pace. They feel more like scenes than chapters. They follow one event that happens, and once that event is over, you're on to the next one. But that gives it that addictive, I just can't put this down, one more chapter type feeling, and I really liked it. This is also helped along by the multiple points of view. Occasionally you get 2 chapters in a row that follow the same perspective, but for the most part you're bouncing around between them, and so you never really get a chance to get bored of one in particular. In all honesty, despite the fact that it's his series, I probably found Tom's perspective the least interesting. It's a solid, well thought out investigation storyline, but it's also a fairly average one. If you're a massive fan of the crime genre, whether that's novels or TV shows, you're not going to find anything in Close Your Eyes that completely blows your mind. There's not that much in terms of detailed forensic analyses past the post-mortem, because you're following Tom, and he's a down-to-earth, family man, gut instinct cop type guy. So for the most part, you're following him as he questions people and puts things together. I grew to like him more as the story progressed though. I enjoyed his interactions with his family and his fellow cops, especially with Becky, who he seems to have a genuine friendship with. He also seems to want to do the right thing, what he believes will be the right thing, even if it gets him in trouble with his boss. As for the other 2 perspectives, they interested me far more. I really enjoyed following the suspect as she tries to cover her tracks, finding out what secrets she's keeping, what her motivations are, and what she's going to do next. As the story progressed, I became more and more invested, and there were some points where I just couldn't stop. I think Rachel Abbott does a great job of drip feeding you information over time so that things slowly come into focus. As for the third perspective, I don't know how much I can say without getting into spoilers, but rest assured I was hooked. I couldn't wait to find out what happened to the family next. It was incredibly frustrating and sad at times, but it never ever got boring. Overall, I think that Rachel Abbott does a great job. The 3 perspectives work together really well. The story is fast paced. You're constantly given new information that keeps you guessing. When you learn things from one perspective, you see things differently from the others. There's some great psychological thriller elements that explore love, dependence, what makes us happy, and how far we'll go to achieve that. You're dealing with a suspect pool that isn't very deep, so you have a lot of time to get to know the suspects and speculate and try to put everything together, which I didn't actually do until right before the answers were revealed, which is a feeling that I appreciate and hate at the same time. It's always amusing when I'm sitting there thinking that I'm so clever and I've worked it all out, and then within that chapter the answers are revealed and you realise that you were probably just supposed to work it out at that time. If you're looking for a nice, easily digestible, fast-paced psychological thriller / crime novel, I definitely recommend reading Close Your Eyes. Whilst the police investigation might not be groundbreaking, the rest of the story makes it totally worth it in my opinion, and went in directions that I did not expect. I'll definitely pick up more books in the DCI Tom Douglas series. In terms of spoiler free, I feel like I've said everything that I can say now, so it's time to move on. If you're leaving now, thanks so much for spending time with me, and until next time, take care, have a good one. If you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at Mason_in the dark, link in the description. Let the spoilers flow in 3, 2, 1. As I said in the spoiler-free section, the detective storyline was my least favourite part, but it definitely wasn't bad. As I got deeper into the story, I found Tom more and more likeable. I actually found it pretty funny that he refuses to believe that Martha is the killer, despite the fact that throughout the story the evidence just mounts against her. I was sitting there thinking, mate, this woman should be your prime suspect. And even when he's forced to admit that she is, and they need to take a deeper look into her, he still never really believes that she is the killer. This is obviously supposed to show that he's got a strong gut instinct, and maybe if I'd read more of the books in the series, I would have known this. One of the things that I enjoyed was the fact that Tom's wife didn't resent him. Even when he had to work late, she understood and she encouraged him. It's so common in the crime genre for the main character's partner to resent them for needing to work so much. And it felt really refreshing for that not to be the case here. They seem to have a genuinely happy, healthy life together. We see just enough of his family life to understand what kind of guy he is. He's patient and understanding, he gets along with his wife, he loves his kids, and he even puts up with his ex-wife's drama with quite a lot of grace. I enjoyed his interactions with the rest of the team, especially Becky, who he seemed to have a genuine friendship with. It was pretty funny that he was so scared of what an erratic driver she is. It's mentioned multiple times throughout the story, and each time I felt like it got funnier. He stays level-headed throughout the story, pushing forward, never really jumping to conclusions, and just trying to find the truth, and I respected that. I also found it amusing that the way Rachel Abbott gets around not needing to go too in-depth on the forensics is just having Tom not like post-mortems. We get the basic information that we need, but really it's only there to paint Martha as the killer. The killer twisted the knife, and later on Aram mentions twisting the knife, so it's just there to make it look more like it's Martha. I found Martha's storyline genuinely interesting in both timelines. Following Martha as she went on the run was quite fun. It was impressive the lengths that she went to. The fact that she makes herself look different at work and never really offers much personal information means that no one really knows who she is, and so when she disappears, she does so effectively. Tom and the team have basically no chance of finding her, and they don't catch up to her till much later in the story when she starts making mistakes because she's getting more desperate. It was really endearing to see how much she cared about her son, especially considering what we learn about her childhood and how little affection she was shown. She's just trying to do the right thing by him, and she's so concerned. I think Rachel Abbott does a really great job. I found myself wanting her to get away, even before we learned whether or not she was the killer. I just started to care about her. The deeper I got into the story, the more I felt sorry for Martha. It was heartbreaking when she realised that she was going to have to give up Alfie for his best interests. He's the one person that she has in her life, the one person that really cares about her and that even knows that she exists. And then that heartbreak turns to frustration when she leaves him with her dad, because it's so clearly not going to go the way that she wants it to. And I was so mad because I just felt like she was making a mistake, but at the same time I don't feel like she had that much choice. In my opinion, it shows a lot of strength for her to return to Lakeside, and I found it genuinely tense as she searches through the house for the evidence that implicates her in Leah's murder. And when she ends up in the kitchen with her mother, it was such a tense scene and so frustrating because you just know that it's not going to go well. There's no way that her mother is going to show her any affection or try to help her. And I knew what was coming next, and it was just such a tense scene. The Lakeside storyline was so good. Don't get me wrong, it was frustrating, it was sad, but every time we returned to that perspective, I was hooked. I couldn't get enough. I've been calling her Martha, but really I should call her India because obviously that's her actual name. What India goes through is just horrible. To go from such a happy family to having to live in this cult that just centres around a ram, where she has to endure this constant cycle of being built up, torn down, publicly humiliated, and has no independence, no life of her own, no affection from her family, no friends, and no chance of leaving. It's just heartbreaking. Rachel Abbott is so sneaky. The whole way through she makes it look like India is a killer. At first you think that she's killed Genevieve, then you think that she's killed Leah, and then the rug gets pulled out from under your feet and Rachel Abbott's like, nope, she never killed anyone, and in fact Aram is just framing her for the murder of the one friend that she ever had. I actually got a kick out of the fact that Leah was from my hometown. You never get my hometown mentioned in anything, so when it was mentioned, I was just so amused. I hated India's parents, I'm not gonna lie. They just let her down on so many occasions in so many ways. At first, I felt sorry for India's mum. She's depressed, and when she invites Aram to their house, she's just trying to find a way to be happy, and I can respect that. But as time progresses, it just gets to the point where you think you need to do the right thing by your daughter. I understand that the whole point of the story is that a cult leader can get inside someone's head and break them down and make them dependent, but eventually she just doesn't care about India. The only time she ever shows any emotion towards her is jealousy and resentment. When Aram starts sleeping with India, which is so weird and gross, Nicola doesn't care, she's not concerned, she's just jealous and angry about it. Even at the end, when India goes back to Lakeside looking for the evidence that implicates her in Leah's murder, Nicola ends up destroying that evidence, but not because she cares about India, because she just wants her gone. If she destroys that evidence, there's nothing tying her to her ram anymore and nothing stopping her from leaving. Nicola just wants her out of the way. Even at the end, she's never really redeemed. I've never really read a book that had a cult in before, so I found Close Your Eyes really interesting. I don't think I've ever thought too deeply about the techniques that somebody could use to control people like this. I did feel that Aram's hypnotic powers were a bit too strong. All that people really had to do was look in his eyes and they were instantly under his control, not being able to remember what they'd done for hours, not being able to lie to him. But I can see how the techniques that he uses would work. The psychological manipulation, building them up, breaking them down, putting them through public humiliation, removing their identity, making them financially dependent on him, creating a world in which they can't leave and which they can't even imagine leaving. It's horrifying to think that this sort of thing actually happens. When I first started reading Close Your Eyes, I was expecting it to be a bog standard crime story, just a murder mystery, a whodunit, but it actually ended up being more than that, and personally, for me, it explored some topics that I've never really explored before. It was horrific in a way that went beyond just gruesome gore. It was horrifying to see how far people will go to make themselves happy, and it was quite sad at times, but I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it to other people. I hope you've enjoyed today's review. To be honest, it's one of the ones that I've struggled with the most out of all the ones that I've done so far. I don't know why, it's just when it came to the spoiler-free section I wasn't sure what to say, and then there was so much to unpack when it comes to the spoilers. I didn't want to just give a blow-by-blow of what happened, and I wanted to try and give my thoughts on it, so I hope that it turned out well. If you've had a good time, say hi in the comments section and we'll have a chat. Then you can make friends with the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss any future content. As always, thanks for spending time with me today, guys. Until next time, take care. For now I'm off, and you should have a good one.